You have seen deserts before, endless sand, wind carving soft lines across the ground, a horizon that never seems to get closer no matter how long you walk. Now imagine standing there, alone, no sound but the wind. It feels empty, but it is still Earth. There is air, there is life, there is a sky that protects you even when it feels harsh. Now take that same scene and remove everything that makes it safe. The sky turns thin, almost gone. The air disappears. The temperature drops so low that metal becomes brittle. Your breath would freeze before you could take a second one. You are still standing in a desert. But this time, it is Mars. The photos we receive from Mars do not look alien at first. That is what makes them unsettling. They look familiar, almost comfortable, like places you have already been. Rocky plains, dust-covered hills, dry riverbeds. It looks like Earth after something went terribly wrong. And that is not a feeling. It is a fact. Billions of years ago, Mars was not the frozen desert we see today. It had flowing water. It had lakes, possibly even oceans. There were clouds, rain, maybe even conditions that could support life. But something changed. The planet lost its atmosphere. Its magnetic field faded. The solar wind slowly stripped away the air, layer by layer, until nothing was left to protect it. And what remains is what you see in those images. A world that used to be alive, now silent. When you look at a photo of Mars, you are not just seeing another planet. You are looking at a warning. A snapshot of what happens when a world loses everything that keeps it alive. And yet, the more you look, the stranger it becomes. Because Mars is not just empty, it is detailed. Sharp shadows stretch across the surface because there is so little atmosphere to soften the sunlight. Rocks sit untouched for millions of years. Dust storms can cover the entire planet, yet leave almost no trace of movement afterward. Time behaves differently there. Slow, almost frozen. Some tracks left by rovers could remain visible for decades, maybe longer. Think about that. On Earth, footprints vanish in hours. Rain washes them away. Wind reshapes the land. Life erases everything. On Mars, nothing does. The ground remembers, and the photos capture that memory. They show valleys carved by ancient rivers that no longer exist. They show minerals that only form in the presence of water. They show landscapes that feel like they should be moving, but are not. It is like looking at a paused world, a moment frozen for billions of years. And yet, despite all this stillness, Mars is not completely dead. It still changes. Winds move fine dust across the surface. Carbon dioxide freezes and thaws at the poles, forming seasonal ice caps. Massive dust devils spin across the plains, leaving dark trails that stretch for kilometers. But these changes are slow, quiet, almost invisible unless you are watching closely. And that is what makes the photos so powerful. They are not dramatic. They are not loud. They do not show explosions or storms or chaos. They show silence, a silence so complete that it becomes hard to understand, because your brain expects something to move, something to live, something to happen, but nothing does. And as you keep looking, something else begins to settle in, a realization. This place was once more like home than you think, and now it is not. And if that can happen to Mars, what does that mean for Earth? At first, Mars feels close. You can see it in the night sky, a small red dot, steady and quiet. Ancient civilizations noticed it thousands of years ago. They gave it names, built myths around it, watched it move across the stars. It feels like a neighbor. And in a way, it is. Mars is, on average, about 225 million kilometers away from Earth. That sounds like a number, just a number. But think about this. If you could drive a car at highway speed, 100 kilometers per hour, and never stop, it would take you over 250 years to reach Mars. 2.5 centuries, just driving in a straight line. And that is when Mars is relatively close. At its farthest, the distance can grow to over 400 million kilometers. This is not a short trip. It is a crossing of emptiness. And yet, we have sent machines there. Small, careful machines. Rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance. They move slowly, very slowly. A human could walk faster, but every movement is precise, controlled from millions of kilometers away. When you see a photo from Mars, it was not taken in real time. The signal takes minutes to travel between the planets. Even light, the fastest thing in the universe, needs time to cross that distance. At its closest, it takes about 3 minutes. At its farthest, over 20 minutes. So every image you see is already in the past. You are always looking at what Mars looked like, not what it is right now. And what you see is a world that is both familiar and deeply alien. The gravity on Mars is about 38% of Earth's. If you weigh 70 kilograms here, you would weigh just over 26 kilograms there. You could jump higher, move differently. Your body would feel lighter. But that lightness comes at a cost. The atmosphere on Mars is less than 1% as dense as Earth's. It cannot hold heat. It cannot protect you from radiation. It cannot support human life. The average temperature is around minus 60 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze most things solid. But sometimes it drops even lower. At the poles, during winter, temperatures can reach minus 125 degrees Celsius, cold enough that carbon dioxide, the gas you breathe out, freezes into ice. Imagine that. The air itself turning solid. Now look again at the photos. Those wide plains, those quiet hills, they exist in that cold. Every rock, every grain of dust, frozen in a world that cannot warm itself. And yet, Mars still tells a story of water. There are channels carved into the surface that stretch for hundreds of kilometers. These are not small features. Some are larger than the Grand Canyon. They were formed by flowing water, not trickles, rivers, massive, powerful rivers that shaped the land over time. One region, called Valles Marineris, is over 4,000 kilometers long. That is about the distance from New York to Los Angeles. And it is not just long, it is deep. In some places, over 7 kilometers deep. Standing at its edge would feel like standing at the edge of a wound in the planet itself, a scar from a different era. And then there are the minerals, clay, sulfates, compounds that only form in the presence of liquid water. These are not guesses. They are chemical evidence, proof that Mars once had the conditions needed for water to exist on its surface for long periods. And where there is water, there is potential for life. That possibility is one of the reasons we keep sending missions there. Not because we expect to find cities or creatures, but because even the smallest sign of past life, a microbe, a fossil, a chemical signature, would change everything we understand about life in the universe. And yet, despite all this history, Mars today is empty, completely empty. No trees, no oceans, no animals, no sound. If you stood there, you would hear almost nothing. The atmosphere is so thin that sound barely travels. A shout would fade quickly. Even the wind would be a faint whisper. It is a quiet that is difficult to imagine. And then there is the sky. During the day, it is not blue like Earth's. It is a soft, dusty orange. The sun appears smaller, dimmer, because Mars is farther away from it, about 1.5 times the distance between Earth and the sun. That means Mars receives less than half the sunlight Earth does. Less light, less warmth, a slower, colder world. But the most unsettling part is not the cold or the distance. It is the time. Some surfaces on Mars are billions of years old, untouched, unchanged. On Earth, the surface is constantly renewed. Plate tectonics shift continents, erosion reshapes landscapes, life covers everything. Nothing stays the same for long. But Mars does not have active plate tectonics like Earth. Its surface does not recycle itself in the same way, so the past remains visible, right there on the ground. You are not just looking at a place, you are looking at deep time, layers of history stacked and preserved, and that leads to a question that is hard to ignore. If Mars once had water, if it once had a thicker atmosphere, if it once had the building blocks for life, what exactly caused it to lose everything? And more importantly, could the same thing ever happen to Earth? When you step back far enough, Mars stops being just a place. It becomes a story, not told with words, but written in rock, dust, and silence. A story of change, of loss, of time stretching far beyond anything human. Earth and Mars were not always so different. In the early days of the solar system, both planets had the potential to follow similar paths. They formed from the same cloud of gas and dust. They orbited the same young sun. But small differences matter. Earth is larger. Its core remained active, generating a magnetic field that protects the planet from the solar wind. That invisible shield keeps our atmosphere in place. Mars is smaller, its core cooled faster, its magnetic field weakened and disappeared, and without that protection, the solar wind slowly stripped away the atmosphere, not in a single moment, not in a dramatic event, but over millions of years, grain by grain, layer by layer, until the planet could no longer hold on to what made it alive. This is not a theory pulled from imagination. Space missions have measured this process. Instruments have detected particles from Mars's atmosphere being carried away by the solar wind even today. It is still happening, right now, very slowly, but constantly. And that is what makes those photos so heavy. They're not just images of a distant world. They are the final frame of a long process, a process that turned a once warmer, wetter planet into a cold, silent desert. When you look at Mars, you are seeing the result of physics, of time, of fragile balance, and it forces a strange kind of reflection. Because Earth feels stable, permanent, unchanging, but it is not. It only feels that way because human lives are short. Civilizations rise and fall in thousands of years. Planets change over millions. The difference in scale hides the motion, but it does not stop it. Earth still has its magnetic field, its thick atmosphere, its flowing oceans. For now. And nothing in the universe guarantees that it will always stay this way. Not forever. The sun itself is changing, slowly getting brighter over billions of years, shifting the balance of heat and energy. One day, far in the future, Earth will no longer be able to support life as it does now. That is not fear, that is physics. But here is the part that matters. You are here now, on a planet that still has air to breathe, water to drink, a sky that protects you, life all around you. Mars shows what happens when those things are gone. It is not loud about it. It does not warn you with sudden destruction. It simply exists, quiet, empty, a reminder. And when you look at those photos again, knowing all of this, they begin to feel different, not just beautiful, not just strange, but meaningful, because they show you something rare, a clear before and after, a world that once had more and now has less. And in that silence, there is a kind of perspective that is hard to find anywhere else. You begin to understand how thin the line is, how delicate the balance is, how rare a living world might actually be. And maybe that is why those images feel so powerful. Not because they show something dramatic, but because they show what remains when everything else is gone. A horizon, a sky, and a silence that has lasted for billions of years, waiting, unchanged. And when you finally look away, Earth feels different, not bigger, not stronger, just more fragile. And for a moment, you understand something simple, something easy to forget, that everything you know exists on a thin layer of air, on a small planet, in a very large, very quiet universe.